And I am live. Hello. Welcome back to another stream. It's been a while. It's been a couple days. I was kind of busy yesterday, and I wanted to get out my latest video, so I focused on editing instead of actually streaming. But I'm back now, and we're gonna be doing some Wolf Slayer, hopefully. I do want to check, is this lobby free? Looks like it is. Because, yeah, wait, no. Oh, he is doing Wolf Slayer. Okay. Find a different lobby then. Yeah, we're going to be doing some Wolf Slayer because it's one of the few Slayers I actually haven't leveled yet. I'm still, wait, how do you check your Slayer? I guess you have to hold Aatrox, right? I mean, I have to do it that anyway to start my quest. But yeah, I have both Revenant Horror 9 and Tarantula 9 and Voidgloom 9, as well as, obviously Wishdrager 5. We're still working on the Inferno Demon Lords, but my Wolf Slayer is actually only level 8, which has been for absolutely ever. So yeah. I want to do something about that because that's one of the few grinds I have left that I actually still very much enjoy. And yeah, we're only 15% of the way to an overflux, but we're going to be running maximum Magifying setup, which hopefully will help a lot in dropping some overflux capacitors. I do want to tune my tunings here a little bit because I think I want to be in Slender actually for that extra intelligence, and I think my tunings are mostly fine. Yeah, mostly fine. And then I want to do, whenever you start a Slayer quest, I want to summon my wolf, because that's the only thing I can really do. Then whenever a wolf slayer spawns, I want to obviously equip my golden dragon for that extra damage and extra magic find. When Packmaster spawns, equip my golden dragon. Perfect. Yeah, I'm just kind of gonna be running around. Obviously, I'm spawning with hype because that's kind of what's easiest. And yeah, I don't know how much exactly how much magic find I'm gonna be getting per boss, but hopefully it's gonna be a good deal. I think I can also, yeah, I can just hype the mini bosses. The only thing I can't hype is the actual boss itself, which is why I pulled out my giant sword as well, even though I'm not even sure if it's necessary or not. Because wolf slayers are very much kind of a pushover. It's pretty much the easiest slayer, maybe besides Tarantula. And yeah, I don't even need it, honestly. I just kind of destroy. Obviously, I'm not quite one-tapping, which I do know you can one-tap if you do enough damage, but I don't do quite that much damage. I do a good amount, though, so. How long is that? 10 seconds? 10 seconds bosses is honestly pretty much nothing compared to how long it actually takes to spawn the bosses themselves. I know I could also be doing this in the hideout, the little cave, the wolf cave, but I actually prefer just doing it in the hub. It's not that much slower, and I just don't have to deal with anyone else, getting in my way, even though I know, like, technically sharing, like, loot sharing bosses is a lot more efficient. And yeah, 2 bosses down, still no drops, which is a little worrying, but I just want to see how much magic find I'm actually getting. Because I might have some more ways I could potentially optimize it a little bit further. I did put my beacon on magic find, because there's actually a sea creature chance for the longest while because I was using for fishing. So all my Human Slayer I did, pretty much, I was missing actually five magic find, which is a little tragic, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of be doing this. This is also a lot more chill. Also 304 magic find. Jesus, that's a lot. Wow. Okay. Well, nice. That's hopefully gonna result in some actual drops. That would be very nice. I am pretty much guaranteed to profit on this Slayer, just like Emon Slayer, because obviously there's hamster wheels and there's also fur balls and stuff. There's a bunch of the smaller drops, which are generally quite good profit. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna be too much of an issue with profitability. It's not gonna make like crazy money per hour, because obviously, like, unless I drop 4 cores or 4 capacitors or something, it's not gonna be anything too crazy, because it is still a pretty early game Slayer, even though I do have 300 Oh! That's the first turn, Jesus. Well, that's nice. Okay. Crazy rare drop straight off the bat. It is a culture rune, which I'm pretty sure is like a lot rarer than capacitor actually. I do actually want to check the drop chance real quick. Um, yeah, okay, so it's okay, no, it's still a lot more common than capacitor, but it is rare. But it is the most common prayer and Jesus drop at this point. Capacitor for me is still the rarest one out of them all, even with my RNG meter. Um, which is a little tragic, but hopefully we can get that RNG meter a little bit up. Obviously I still have over 400,000 EXP to go to Wolf 9, so it's not like I'm gonna get there anytime soon, and we're definitely not getting Wolf Slayer level 9 today, which obviously is a little tragic, but it is what it is. I don't mind putting in some hours. It's always nice. You have to start somewhere, right? The same thing I did with Eamon Slayer. I kind of left it at I think at like 600k for the longest time. And I've kind of been at 600k Wolf Slayer HP for the longest time too. Simply because I haven't really bothered. I do want to make sure I do have 100 attack speed. I do. Oh, hi Upf. Who's the big man? It's Mr. Aatrox. Free perk Aatrox with his magical plus 20% magic find and more Slayer XP, which is very, very nice. His cost reduction doesn't really matter for Wolf Slayer specifically, but if you want to do something like Zombie Slayer, it's also really massive. I did also consider doing Zombie Slayer actually, but because I already have Zombie Slayer level 9, I actually have like 6 mil overflow or something on Zombie Slayer. I feel like it would make more sense for me to just try to finish off Wolf Slayer. Also more hamster wheels. Already we actually had some pretty decent drops. Oh yeah, Slayers are profit. Definitely. I mean, if you want to have like make good money with Slayers, you should do something like Immense Slayer. With like full meta and stuff, but just loses your 2 mil per hour. Yeah, that's kind of rough. Wolf Slayer is really good in the early game because unlike Zombie Slayer, which can lose you money if you don't have good enough magic find and good enough luck in general, it's pretty much always guaranteed to make money because of stuff like hamster wheels and the fur balls as well also help. And they don't cost as much to summon per boss. They only cost 50k per boss. You have 80 magic find? Yeah, okay, that's kind of rough. You gotta get that up if you want to do Slayers. The more magic find, basically, the more money you make, right? It's quite a direct correlation. It's just a multiplier on your drops, so it's just really, really nice to have good magic find. But generally in Slayers, especially Wolf Slayer and like Zombie Slayer and Eamon Slayer, you're very much relying on the RNG. You haven't bought Dex or Zara or anything? Yeah, that's rough. Zara armor isn't too good for Slayers, but other than basically if you already can easily do the Slayer on its own, like within 10 seconds bosses, you shouldn't really be using Sorrow. You should try to get something like Black Cat and Day Axe and stuff to kill with. My setup right now is consisting of 2/4 Sorrow and a Warden Helmet, which is honestly kind of unnecessary. I could probably swap this out with another Sorrow piece. And then I have God Roll Crimson Chestplate, which is not too leveled up, but it's good enough for me to prioritize it over Sorrow because it gives extra Veteran, which obviously gives me more bosses per hour. And then I have my G-Drag, which is only like level 105 right now, so I still have like free magic fund I can get from it. Just base, and then I have my Daedalus Axe, which multiplies that up by quite a bit. Which is giving me, what, 300 magic find per boss? Which is very nice. I think it's like basically the highest magic find number I've hit, besides for Ghosts, because Ghosts have bestiary, and that also boosts magic find die a lot. I'm doing it in Ruins. It is technically better to do it in the park. Like you get a little bit more XP per hour, like from killing enemies, which means you get a few more bosses per hour, but when you're doing it in the park, you have to deal with other people, right? There's a bunch of people going around and doing the Slayer boss on its own, which means it can become worse, quite easily if there's too many people doing it. And there's always a bunch of people doing Wolf Slayer like during Aatrox, for example. So in my experience, if you're ever doing Wolf Slayer like during Aatrox, it's almost always better just to do it in the runes because it's honestly not that much slower and you don't actually have to deal with other people, which is just a lot nicer. A furball. Yeah. Furballs are only 30k. They used to be like 200k per hour, but I do think they're going to go up a little bit after Aatrox is over. But it's not like they make big bucks or anything. They just help a little bit with making sure the Slayer is actually profitable. But yeah. Also, yeah, I forgot to mention I'm using a hype to spawn with, because it's the easiest to spawn with. It's not really necessary, but it's just the easiest for me. You don't need a hype or anything. You can get away with just like something like an additional short bow with explosive arrows. That's what I used to get my first 600k EXP in Wolf. I think I upgraded to Charm at some point, but just any sort of bow, short bow with explosive arrows works completely fine for spawning. You just have to be a little bit more precise. And the hype is a little bit faster because obviously you don't really have to aim or anything. It's a shame though that hype doesn't work on the boss itself anymore. It used to. Yeah, that ain't happening for me. Yeah. No worries. The Wolf Slayer is really nice in a Slayer because it has a pretty low bar of entry, because the Slayer itself is really easy compared to, you know, Demon Slayer and Blaze Slayer and stuff like that. And you also don't really need to worry too much about like having a hype or having a term or anything, because it honestly doesn't make too much of a difference. You don't even need a Warden Helmet or anything, you just need to be able to kill the boss in a reasonable amount of time, but you can do that with like a Shadow Fury, for example. Just making sure to finish it off with the axe. Yeah. We're getting 82 bosses power, which is very nice actually. That's definitely in the upper, the higher parts of my rates. I do feel these bosses going past quite quickly too. Wolf Slayer back in the day used to be like such a painful boss, or it's such a painful Slayer, because it always has been quite easy. Like even when it first came out, it was like pretty doable and just like superior armor, which meant people weren't really paying too much attention to the bosses, but it was very easy. But it's always been like in the past, it was really, really painful to spawn the boss itself, because like Ruin Wolves gave less EXP and the park was even worse than it is now, and it was just a pain to spawn the boss. So it was always like you spent 2 minutes trying to spawn the boss, then you spent 2 seconds killing the boss, and then you just kind of had a really awkward game loop where it's just like you were just running around killing wolves 90% of the time, and then you had like, you know, a little bit of engagement every 30 seconds or like every 2 minutes or so. But nowadays like spawning the boss is a lot faster because they buffed EXP of wolves and just, you know, just made it a little bit easier. There's obviously also more ways you can get stuff like veteran, like combat wisdom, which boosts your rates too. So they just made the boss a lot more bearable to do, because it really was a pain back in the day. I remember when Slayers first came out, I immediately like jumped on Wolf Slayer because it was the only Slayer I was able to do. I wasn't even able to do like tier 4 revs, but Wolf Slayer I could do because they released the dedicated armor set as well, the Mastiff set, which was pretty good back in the day. Also, wow, 313 magic fine, Jesus Christ, that's so much. I've already earned 700k from just hamster wheels. It's only been 15 minutes. That's not bad, considering it's like a low tier drop. Obviously, yeah, I'm not gonna earn anything significant unless I drop a capacitor, but still just nice earning a little bit of residual cash while you're trying to complete the grind, right? Because I mean, I have to do this anyway at some point, so might as well do it while I actually make a little bit of money. Wolf Thieves also know are actually worth a little bit because it's one of the few Slayer drops that are actually needed for like a lot of items in the game. Because gold is so easy to get. And stuff like Rev, like with Rev Viscera and even Null Atoms at this point, the only real reason they're, you know, like they're not any valuable at all because the other items you have to use to craft them. In Revenant's case, it's the Rivicera where you need the string, which is generally quite a pain to get. And in Null Overweights case, it's the Obsidian, which is also comparatively quite a pain to get. It just means that like the actual main drop from the boss generally isn't really worth anything, which is a little bit of a shame, especially with like Revenants. The flash is so stupid because it's like a lot of the time you can't even insta sell it because there's just no one buying it because it's so worthless. I'm pretty sure you can't even sell it to NPC either, so it's just like it's just such a worthless drop in so many ways. It's one of those drops that just clog up your inventory. Also because like you actually get Revicera from the bosses themselves, like the tier 5s. You actually drop directly Revicera, which is kind of how many people actually get the Revicera. So it's just kind of pointless that they even drop their flash. I forget what the flash is called, but whatever that. I can actually check really quick. It should be in Bazaar, right? So in Combat Slayer, yeah. Yeah, Revenant Flash. Like right now it's actually at a decent price, like 20 per piece is not too bad, but I've frequently seen it dip below 1 coin. And yeah, it's just rough. Tarantula Whip is also worth a little bit, which is nice, but tarantulas are kind of a joke too, so it's not like you're actually making too much money out of it. But at least last I checked, Wolf Teeth are actually, yeah, Wolf Teeth are worth like 380 per, which is really not bad considering you drop like a stack per boss, right? I don't know how much money that comes out to, but it's a decent amount. Another furball, Jesus. 3 furballs already, nice. It's kind of what I was talking about with the furballs. They don't cost too much like on their own, but they're pretty common. Oh, my lobby just opened up. It's a little annoying. Hopefully no one comes to the ruins, otherwise I'm gonna have to swap lobbies. It's a little annoying with the whole private hub kind of type deal. It's like more often than not, your hubs just kind of end up opening up in like the span of 20 minutes, which is a little annoying. It's like I just want to do my Slayer on my own, you know. I don't want other people coming here. That's why I'm doing it in the ruins in the first place. Why are you slaying the walls? Call it PETA. Well, it's because they drop a funny rock, which is worth a lot of money, and I want the rock, and I have to stab them to get their rock. The funny little. I want this funny little rock, my overflux capacitor, my boy. It's worth 120 million coins. Like I have to kill the wolves. You know? Like if you were paid 120 million, wouldn't you also like be willing to kill wolves? You know? I feel like most people would try at least, you know? Oh, I think I just ran into my swipes. I'm not sure if it's worth it for me to actually wear the Warden helmet. Because I could be getting like an extra 6 or 7 magic find. If I kill anything for money, I mean, true. I mean, Skyblock is just kind of killing stuff for money, you know? I mean, that's the entire point of Slayers, you know? There's also mythological rituals where I actually kill cats for money as well. That's also kind of fun. It's not even because the cats themselves give me anything important, it's just because they're in my way to kill the actual mobs, which can give me stuff that's good. But yeah, I would very much do anything for money. Well, not anything, but I would kill pretty much anything for money. Just has to be enough money. Haha. Hi, Wolf. Still over 390k EXP to go, but we're making a little dent. I don't know how much we started at. I think we started like... I think I'm already down to like 7k. Yeah, 10k XP. We started at a little over 400k, so nice. Already 12k XP now. Bye bye, thank you. I will, even though... What's my TPS? Okay, now it's good again. Oh yeah, wolf talismans as well. I forgot about those. Yeah, those are another benefit of doing it in the ranch. You get wolf talismans every so often. Especially you have good magic find on the wolves. You get the wolf tellies, which are very nice. But sometimes they go for quite a lot of money because they're auction only. Like you can't sell them for lowest bin. So even though they're quite common, they kind of tend to go for more than they're worth just because it's like a pain to sell them. And that means there's not really that many on the auction house at the time, even though there are a lot in circulation. Which also just kind of helps pay for the Slayer itself and gives you a little bit more money per hour. You do get the catalyst as well, if you're doing it in the cave, but generally the catalysts are kind of worthless. Whereas like the wolf talismans are actually the ones that are valuable. I don't really know why actually, because I think catalysts are like generally the same rarity as the talismans themselves, but I think it's just how selling works and stuff like that. I think the catalysts sell to Bazaar, right? In general, stuff that sells to Bazaar is just worthless than stuff that doesn't sell to Bazaar because there's bigger taxes on it, for example, and it's also just like you have to be actively listing them every single time. You can't just like press a button and then it's gone from your inventory. It just takes more effort, right? Therefore, it takes more time for people, and time equals money. So that's how that whole thing equals out. But yeah, according to my tracker, we're earning about 37k EXP per hour, which is not bad at all. That means this grind would take like another 10 hours or so, 10, 11 hours, which is honestly not too bad. For the stuff I've done in Skyblock, 10, 11 hours is really not that much time, especially at the stage of the game I'm in. Like if I want to do something like maxing out my Cooj or bestiaries, for example, it would take a lot longer than that. The same with like, obviously getting something like Blaze 9, that would take probably more like 100 hours, if not even more. Might come back if you have time. Well, you're always welcome. Bonk. Another minibus. This is really like kind of nice and relaxing. Not paying much attention. Like Demon Slayer at this point with how much I've done, it's just not really like a pain or anything, but Wolf Slayer is even just, you know, even less of a pain than Demon Slayer. Which just makes it even more just brainless. I'm just running around, right-clicking the ground, and stuff is just dying around me, and then every so often I have to punch like a wolf. The only thing that requires a little bit of effort is actually hitting the wolves, because they have kind of a tiny hitbox, which is a little annoying, but it's really nothing. A little bit of clicking can't fix. Yeah. Other than that culture rune I got like on my third boss, we haven't dropped anything too interesting so far. But I mean, I guess I can't expect a RNG every other boss or anything. It's kind of why they're called RNGs now. How much is... Yeah, okay, so guaranteed overflux is actually over 1,000,000 EXP. It's kind of funny. You're not even guaranteed to get an overflux capacitor before you have Wolf 9. Like, that's insane. Calling capacitor next boss? Well, maybe. Hopefully. That would be nice. Like, imagine playing Iron Man and you're, like, getting Wolf 9, then, like, at the point where you actually got Wolf 9, you don't even have a capacitor yet. Like, that would just be tragic. Like, at least with the E-Man core, like the Judgment core, you're guaranteed to get one before E-Man 9. You're not even guaranteed to get one with Wolf Slayer. I guess the same thing is true with the Warden Heart, right? Because you have to go to 3.6 milli XP to guarantee a Warden Heart, whereas Zombie Slayer 9 is only like a milli XP. But there, it's also like, it's a bit more manageable in a way, because Zombie Slayer is even faster than Wolf Slayer, and also it's like... It's just like more fun in a way, I don't know. I just feel like it's more manageable. I don't know if there's someone here, but I feel like I'm... Oh, there is someone here. But he's like level 36, the fuck? I mean, sure, I guess, but... I might swap lobbies just so I don't have to look at him. Not like he's doing anything, but he's killing my wolves. These are my wolves, right? I wanna kill all the wolves by myself. Grr. Everything die. Also, no capacitor. 2.2k kills. What? What does that mean? Is that? No, that's not how many E-man bosses I've killed. I've killed less than that, no? I know you need like technically 2,000 tier 4 E-man to get to like E-man 9, but I killed a lot of tier 3s and stuff too, so I think I'm more at like 1,800 or something. I don't know actually. I haven't checked my kill counts in a long while. I think I only have like about 1,000 tier 4 wolves, maybe a little bit more. In general, I've tried to do Wolf Slayer during Aatrox because it's just not really worth it if it's not, because there's so many other things you can do in the game that like make more money than Slayers. Even during Aatrox, like Slayers aren't even the most profitable thing in the game, which is kind of tragic, but you know, that's kind of what happens with stuff that's fun and solo. You kind of it ends up not becoming as profitable. I think at this point too, like Blaze Slayer is not even like it's still good, but it's not nearly as good as what it used to be. Like Blaze Slayer, you could easily earn like 60 mil an hour plus back before the Inferno minion changes, but I think after the Inferno minion changes, a lot more people have gone into Blaze Slayer. It just kind of meant that all the drops have kind of become less valuable. Which is obviously kind of good for a normal player because that actually means they have a chance at it, but like those people who already could do Blaze Slayer, it's a little bit of an L. Just because they're not earning as much as they used to. I kind of saw the same thing happen when I did ghost grinding. Because I was, like, my setup was always improving, right? I always got a little bit better of a setup. I started using the day axe instead of a giant sword, for example, you know. My magic find always went up, and I always got more drops per hour. But because the prices kind of fell, at a pretty similar rate as my setup improved, actually, I never really ended up making too much more money per hour. It was always very marginal increases, and then stuff like petty XP became a lot less valuable. And it's just mean, like at this point, if I go back and do ghost grinding, I'm gonna be earning less money than I used to doing, you know, ghost grinding with a forced setup, which is kind of tragic, honestly. But that's what happens. You know, inflation and deflation and the whole thing. As the meta evolves, things start becoming less valuable. So, Wolf, what are you doing there? Kind of funny, you have 4 minutes to kill the wolf. Wait, where is my boss? Oh, down there. You have 4 minutes to kill a wolf. I remember having to, like, battle the timer back in, like, 2018. Or whenever Slayers first came out. Like, I remember my setup being so bad that I actually had to worry about the timer when killing a tier 4. It was kind of tragic in a way. It wasn't too tight. I could get it pretty consistently under 4 minutes, but I remember the first couple kills I did, it was like, ooh, okay, I barely got this because I had to, you know, I dealt no damage and the boss actually hurt, which means I had to be really careful. I had to use the pawn as well and stuff like that. It was just kind of a mess. But I powered through for a while. I think I got like Wolf Slayer level 7 quite early on. But then I kind of quit Skyblock after that, so I never dropped an overflux capacitor before I came back, like 2 years later. Which I then decided to grind for my own overflux capacitor, which ended up literally taking to past level, like Wolf Slayer level 8. I think I got to like 10k over level 8 before I finally dropped a capacitor, which was a little tragic. But the good news was I, you know, at least dropped it before I got Wolf Slayer level 9. So at least I was still making, you know, progress towards something other than just money. But I remember like the overflux capacitor being the first like big RNG drop I ever dropped. Because did a lot of fishing, for example, and I've fished up quite a few music rooms in my time, but I think I fished up like 3 or 4 music rooms in my time, but specifically with like RNG drops that are like, you know, actual RNG drops, like stuff like the main RNG drops from Slayers, or even like the radioactive vials from Jobbers, or like, you know, dungeon drops and stuff. The capacitor was like the actual first one I got, which was very exciting when I got it. I remember being like instantly hooked and just like, ooh, I have to do more Slayers now. And then I got like a zombie Slayer phase and I dropped like a Warden's Heart and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. And I think I even dropped like another Warden's Heart at some point. It's also really exciting for me because it was a time where I was really broke and a Warden's Heart really made a big difference. But then like I began getting into Immense Layer, and then I dropped like my first core and was like, that was still really exciting. My second core was also really exciting. Then my third core was like, okay, well I guess this is still cool. It's still a lot of money. And then I dropped my fourth core and was like, okay, well, it's happened before. I guess it's nice though. And now I'm at like over 50% beta on core, and I haven't really dropped an RNG drop in forever, but it was like, it doesn't really matter too much though. I'm pretty content with where I am. But obviously, it would be really cool if I could drop a capacitor here, because I am still below a bill bank, so nope. Okay, I guess not. Too much to ask for. I do have a lot of stuff I can liquidate, though. I just don't really, I don't know. I kind of have a hard time, like, selling stuff. Like, even if it's just, like, materials or, like, sorrows, for example. I just always have a hard time selling stuff because I'm kind of like, oh, but inflation, and oh, but what if I just keep this around and eventually it's gonna be worth more, right? Like, and sometimes that's the case, right? Like with RNG drops in general, they kind of tend to be appreciating assets unless, you know, they become a lot more common. But with a lot of the other times when it's like materials that are like just becoming more and more common and easier to get, um, it tends to actually not work out. Like I remember like just keeping my hands on a whole bunch of gold for the longest time, and like nothing happened. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should sell. And then I ended up selling it for like barely above NPC sale price when I bought it for like, or when I got it, it was like quite a decent bit above. But yeah, I kind of do that sometimes. I'm very much not the best investor in the world. I've had a couple times when I've really had some good investments. Like I remember when they made the change that where they had added like the festive reforge for fishing and the snowy reforge for equipment, and they made it actually require like blue chunks of ice. I remember like watching that for like a couple days and watching like the price go up all of a sudden because blue chunks of ice until then had been worth literally like 0 coins because they were basically worthless. They were only useful for like one reforge for fishing, which wasn't even the best reforge since that was like the dice thing, like the golden ball, which gave lucky, which actually gave magic find, whereas this one gave like the same amount of sea creature chance, but just gave strength instead, which was terrible because you weren't killing with your fishing rods anyway. So it's just like blue chunks of ice were just absolutely worthless. But then they added these new reforges, which meant like the blue chunks of ice all of a sudden actually had a use, and there was just like blue chunks of ice at that point had literally existed. Ooh, another wolf talisman, nice. Blue chunks of ice had literally like existed for 3 years at that point or something. It was crazy how long they existed. So there was so much like backlogged. There were so many like just blue chunks of ice like on profiles on people who had been jetty fishing before, right? Or like done any sort of winter fishing that just had to sell, which meant the price took like a good 2 weeks or something to actually rise. And I remember like the second day or something, I invested like 50 million coins into blue chunks of ice, which at the time I think cost like 1,000 per or something, really, really cheap compared to what they are now. And then like over the course of 2 weeks, they just rise and rise and rise. And I think I ended up selling them for like plus 700% profit or something, which was very nice. But then other times I've like invested in some pretty stupid things and ended up losing like half my money, which has been a little bit more vanilla. I remember buying like the Helmet of the Van skin. I bought it like right after it came out. I waited a couple days because typically that's what you do with skins. You kind of wait a couple days to like a couple weeks, and then they tend to fall a little bit, and then they kind of tend to go back up after that. But I waited like, I don't know how long. I waited a long time. Like a good couple of weeks, I'd say, and they were still at like 90 mil a pop. So I decided, you know what, hey, screw it, I'm just gonna buy one now. And then 2 days later, they dropped to like 40 mil. It's like, bruh, I just burned 40 million coins in 2 days, which is kind of tragic. But hey, it is what it is. Some investments go good, others just don't. Damn Hyperion. I know, right? I'm so rich. I'm crazy. Hello, Starro. How are you doing today? I had to blow my nose. But yeah. Still nothing. How far are we in the overflux? Only 17%, so I guess I can't really complain. Good. I'm glad. Hopefully you've had a good day. I sure have, or something. Haven't really done much today. Just gonna visit the island? Sure, go ahead. I don't really have too much interesting on my island. I think I haven't decorated it at all. It's pretty ugly, but I'm running red sand minions with soul flow engines in a lot of them. Which is kind of probably the most interesting part of my island. I'm playing Hypixel Skyblock. It's the Skyblock game mode on the Minecraft server Hypixel, which is like basically if World of Warcraft was in Minecraft, this would be it. Like there's other servers that are maybe a little bit more Warcraft-like, but this is kind of the most popular. At least the one that has the most players. I've been playing this for a long time though. So what you're seeing right now is not something you're going to get anytime soon. Skyblock is a game that's like quite hard to get into because it takes a long time to get anywhere. And it's not really clear what like you should be doing because there's not really too many in-game guides, so it's kind of a game you learn. 2.9 mil basically? What? I'm confused. I played the game for a while though, so I have a decent net worth. It's nothing special though. I think I'm not even like top 5,000 in the world, I think. If you have Java edition of Minecraft, you just have to go on the IP that's on the bottom of my scoreboard over here, www.hypixel.net, and then you just click on the Skyblock NPC in the hub, and then you're in. But you have to have a Java edition. If you're playing Windows, you can't play it. Sanch. That's the problem, yeah. Unfortunate. I know there is like a scuffed version of Skyblock on Windows, but I don't like Windows Edition, but I don't actually know what it is, or, like what server it's on. It's not Hypixel though. Hypixel doesn't run Windows Edition at all. It's a little sad, like Minecraft is split up like that. Like there's so many different versions. Oh my god, that was like 6 mini bosses in a row. What the fuck? But yeah, Minecraft is like so split up in so many different versions. Because like Windows Edition, and there's like Legacy Console Edition, that there's Java Edition, that there's like modded Minecraft, that there's different versions of Minecraft, like 1.8, 1.20. There's so many different things you can play. Oh, I didn't know. Really? Since when? Is it like using some sort of a VPN or something? I don't know. I didn't think they allowed Windows Edition to join. Well, yeah, you can play on Windows, like the operating system, like Minecraft Java Edition runs on Windows, but, you know, Bedrock or Windows Edition. I don't think they support it, do they? Ah, maybe my knowledge is outdated. They at least didn't used to, but maybe they changed it. I haven't seen anyone play it on Windows Edition though, simply because people kind of rely on mods. Like I have 7 mods or something installed, and I'm not even like an avid mod user or anything. QCraft? Yeah, I think QCraft has a Windows Edition. I know that, but Hypixel is a different server than QCraft. I don't think QCraft has like anything resembling Hypixel Skyblock, because Hypixel Skyblock is not like regular Skyblock. Like I think they have normal Skyblock, right? But Hypixel Skyblock is a very different game than like what normal Skyblock is, which is also something that trips people up a lot. I think I actually have played on QCraft though, like on the Windows Edition. I used to play a little bit of Windows Edition because I had a couple of friends and stuff they played it, and then it was a lot easier with like the PvP because generally people who play Windows Edition are a lot younger and haven't had as much experience with the game. So if there's ever like survival games or something in Windows Editions, and you like have played a lot of Java Edition beforehand, it's like tends to be very easy. I don't know how it is anymore though. I know that it just used to be the case back like when Windows Edition was still relatively new. I feel like Windows Edition though, or like Bedrock Edition. I know it's called Bedrock Edition, I just keep calling it Windows Edition because that's what it kind of used to be called, but I know it's called Bedrock. But Bedrock Edition, like nowadays, is more like the normal version of Minecraft. Back in the day, like for a good few years after it first came out, it was still like kind of don't play this version, play Java, but they've kind of generally been pushing it more as like the main version of Minecraft. I prefer Java for a couple of reasons. Generally, it's a lot less buggy, or like the bugs that are in Java Edition are a lot more like technical and requires like actual game knowledge and are not some bugs you're gonna encounter in normal gameplay. Whereas in Bedrock Edition, bugs are everywhere. Like even just playing normal vanilla survival, doing nothing out of the ordinary, you can just randomly die. Like it's just kind of scuffed, which is really frustrating as a player. And also mods. Mods are a very big reason why I play Java Edition. Because there are mods for Bedrock, but it's like generally either have to pay for them or they're just not as good quality as Java Edition mods are. Like you can get hundreds and hundreds of mod packs, right, for absolutely free on Java Edition. It's just so much more free. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard too. Generally, because like the people who make them or like makes them for commercial reasons, whereas like the people who code for Java Edition are a lot more passion projects. And generally, if something is a passion project, people want to make it as good as possible. Whereas something like stuff that's just made to sell good, it's like sometimes obviously you do want it to be decent, but generally quality doesn't matter as much. It's more like with getting a bunch of them out and then like making them enticing. Yeah, but I mean, a big advantage with Bedrock is that you can play it on your phone and stuff, which is, something you can't do in Java. Well, you can, like, there is something called the Pujav launcher, I think, which does run on your phone, but it's a lot more difficult to set up and it isn't really supported. And like servers like Hypixel, if you play on stuff like the Pujav launcher, you might even get banned because stuff anti-cheat might flag it incorrectly and stuff, so generally it's a lot more open in that way, Bedrock, which is definitely why it's like kind of like getting more mass adoption. I feel like if you're a more modern Minecraft player, like unless you like learn Minecraft through someone else in like one of your friends or something, or like your dad or someone in your family who has played Minecraft and played Java Edition, you kind of end up just defaulting to Bedrock because that's kind of what gets pushed, and that's what you can find on your iPad, on your phone, on all those different devices, on like your console if you play on Xbox or PlayStation or something. And then like as time goes on, if you actually like the game a lot, you kind of realize there's something called Java Edition, and then eventually kind of switch over to Java Edition. It just can tend to be a little bit older. Whereas obviously with Bedrock, right? You can, as a kid, very easily figure out that if you want to play Minecraft, you can just download this app off the App Store or just click this button on the Windows Store and stuff like that. It's just a lot easier to get into. I don't think you can play... I mean, you probably can, because like Minecraft is modded in so different many ways, and there's probably someone who's made some kind of workaround to make it work on Xbox, but it's definitely very hard, and it might have... You know, you have to have at least pretty good technical knowledge to get it running, probably. And it might not even run very well. Probably doesn't. Hackers? You want me to talk about hackers? I don't really have much to say about hackers. For Hypixel Skyblock, hackers aren't really an issue. What is an issue though is macros, which are kind of hackers, but not really, because it's just kind of involves not hacks, but just scripts, which are different. Because macros, right, what they do is they make a program that does something for them. For example, with Wolfslayer, I have seen people macro Wolfslayer. Which is what they do is they have a program that, you know, runs around killing wolves for them. Oh my god! Well, that's a second orgy of the day. I think that's rarer than capacitor. Oh, barely more common than capacitor at this point, but Jesus Christ. That is extremely close to the capacitor. Sadly, instead of being 120 million coins profit, that's 300,000 coins profit. Which is a little tragic, because that could have been a capacitor, basically. But hey, whatever. It's fine. At least it's an RNG. At least it's an RNG. Could have been a capacitor, though. Could have been a capacitor. It's fine. But yeah. About macros, it's like... There was a long time in Hypixel Skyblock's like lifespan where macros were like a massive issue. And even like right at the beginning, it was very unclear like what you were allowed to do, like what kind of macros you were allowed, if mods were even allowed and stuff like that. So it was a very, very big issue for a long while. They kind of ended up putting out some rules which were pretty clear, but not completely clear either, so there was still like some confusion about what's allowed and what's not allowed. But they kind of more or less have figured it out. Like, they kind of have pretty good guidelines for what's allowed and what's not allowed. But, yeah, it's just not really... It's still like an issue. Simply because it's really hard to detect typically, because a lot of the things you do in the game can very easily be mimicked by a computer with pretty much full accuracy. But yeah. Use texture pack. I don't use texture pack because I like the look of the vanilla Minecraft. I know a lot of people prefer texture packs, but I just like the vanilla Minecraft look. It's like nostalgic for me. It's just kind of what I've been used to for the past like 10 years of my life, so. I'm not going to be playing Bed Wars today, no. I don't really play PvP game modes in general. I prefer playing more grindy solo game modes. Because I'm asocial and a loser. You don't like normal. And look for Bedrock. Fair enough. I mean, texture packs are, you know, whatever you prefer, but I prefer the vanilla look. I would definitely be excited to see, like, Skyblock implement a custom texture pack, though. Which they have said they might do if they eventually update the entire server to 1.20, which they have been talking about for a long time. But I do also know updating the server to like 1.20 is not going to be an easy feat, because the server has been running in 1.8 or technically 1.12, but been compatible with 1.8 for the past 20 years or something. Not 20 years, like the past 8 years or something. Like ever since 1.8 came out, it's been compatible with 1.8. So updating to a different Minecraft version entirely and like scrapping an older version of Minecraft is gonna be really rough for them. Use dragon fruit? Is that a texture pack? I assume that is. But I would be really excited to actually see like custom textures for items and stuff. It just adds a lot. Like I remember it, but one of the reasons I fell in love with Windcraft, which is like I wouldn't call it like a Skyblock alternative because honestly, it's literally existed for longer than Skyblock, and in many ways is better than Skyblock. But it's just kind of one of the reasons I fell in love with Windcraft is because of their custom textures. Because they were very, very pretty and very impressive when I first started playing. Like when Minecraft came out, it was so technically advanced compared to like pretty much every other server in Minecraft. It was just extremely impressive how they made it all work. And it still is. It's still a really technically impressive server, but there's a lot more like Minecraft lookalikes. I remember checking one out not long ago called Faceland, which was also really impressive actually. And honestly had a lot of issues that Minecraft were dealing with kind of solved. Oh yeah, FPS boosters are generally allowed. As long as like your game doesn't modify your inputs too much. Like there's still gray lines with like what mods are allowed and what's not allowed. Any sort of cosmetic mod that's not X-ray is generally allowed on Hypixel. Um, so that's pretty much any texture pack you can find and Optifine and sodium, any sort of like FPS boosting mod is allowed definitely. But there are also kind of more edge case scenarios, like stuff like there are some mods which are allowed, which like redirect your clicks, for example, or change how certain things are. Like there's a logger that basically just solves puzzles for you automatically. All you have to do is like click the buttons for it, and that's allowed. But generally, it's like anything that's cosmetic is allowed more or less without question. Anything that's like filtering is generally also allowed. But anything that's like can't X-ray? Oh yeah, no, you can't really X-ray, but that's kind of how the game renders, and it's one of the reasons why Bedrock runs so much better than Java in a lot of cases, at least without any sort of FPS boosters. Because Bedrock does some really hefty culling, which is kind of technical, but basically what it means is its highest textures that you can't see. And what that means is that the entire terrain that you're seeing, like the entire world you're seeing, is treated as like one object. Which just means it has some implications for like rendering, but just means you can run the game faster, more or less. But that also means that stuff like X-ray breaks because you can't actually look through the terrain. Because the terrain is like one flat surface and there's nothing below that surface that you can see at least. But you can probably find workarounds. I guarantee you there's someone who's found a workaround to that. Like, people always find workarounds. That's how it always is in games. If there's, an incentive to cheat, people are gonna find ways to cheat. Which is a massive problem for gaming. It's also gonna be really interesting, like, with the rise of AI, because, like, I have seen AI cheats. Like, there are definitely been AI cheats, and, like, AI players, for example. I remember, like, years and years ago, there was, like, AI Dota players, which were better than, like, the most professional players in the world, which was really, really interesting, but as those things kind of become more and more common, it's going to be really interesting to see how like different games handle it. Because some games might just like embrace it and just say like, "Hey, go ahead, play my game with a AI," but a lot of games are going to, kind of have to decide. I'm playing 1.8, 1.8.9 with a lot of mods, but it's 1.8.9. Also, maxed out wolf bestiary. That's very nice. I actually thought I had this maxed out already, but I guess not. I did max out my old wolf bestiary though, so I think that's every single hub bestiary maxed out. Yeah, nice. That's actually kind of cool. Pretty big milestone. Been like 6 years underway or something, but nice. That does mean I probably should go to the caves though, because I'm not making any bestiary progress anymore. But I don't really care too much. I prefer just doing it in my own solitary world, killing wolves over and over. My kills per hour have dropped a little bit, but that's kind of just what happens whenever you do something for a while. You kind of get a little tired. And focus starts to waver. Grr. Big words. You want to keep going here for at least a while longer, I would definitely like to get to something like 350k HP left, or even a little bit below that, just so like I can actually say I've made a pretty big chunk in, or dent in what's left for me to do. But I definitely still have like at least a good 8 hours or so, probably more, of Wolf's Lair left to go. Which I'm fine with, because it's honestly one of the more enjoyable parts of the game for me. I'm kind of getting to the point in the game where I've kind of maxed out the parts of the game I really enjoy. Like, there's very little left for me to do that I actually like genuinely really enjoy. And a lot of those things are either very multiplayer heavy, like rely on having friends to play with, stuff like fishing and Kuja, or they're kind of very obscure and not really worth my time until like at the very end, like maxing out bestiaries and stuff, which is honestly not really worth my time right now, but it's kind of what I started doing since otherwise I have to do dungeons or farming, which are both things I don't really enjoy at all, or foraging, but we don't even talk about foraging. Also, a third wolf talisman. Nice. I remember I used to be able to sell them for like 2 mil a pop. I don't know if they still go for that, but decent amount of coins no matter what. I know I will have to save it to like after Aatrox though, because that's kind of when the price goes up. Because right now actually people are doing a lot of slayers, which means there's a lot more wolf talismans being generated. It's pushed down the price of them. Bonk. Yeah. I already have half a stack of hamster wheels, which is actually kind of exciting. That combined with the wolf talismans is already like 5 mil or something. That's like another 100k, 150k in fur balls, which is not too bad, but nothing too special. But yeah, all the money from Wolf Slayer is very much just in that RNG drop. But yeah. I did also start a new series. I started a new series like yesterday, I think I uploaded my first video. Which is like a new concept I'm trying. I don't know if it's gonna last. Like I might end up switching it around. It might not end up being that much different from an actual Iron Man. But I hope it becomes quite interesting. My whole storage log series, which I do have a link to in my description. Yeah, I kind of want to hear also what people think about it. So if you've seen the episode and you like have any suggestions or any thoughts on it, you know, feel free to leave them down below, either on this stream or on the actual video itself. It's something I like, the idea I've had for a long time, kind of like in various like different forms. Like I've thought about just, you know, the straight storage lock idea, which is what I've kind of gone with for a while, but I've also thought of like other sort of challenging, like limiting myself to you know, only the end island or something like that, seeing how far I can get, or you know, doing other things like that. But it's kind of the storage locked was kind of the most intuitive idea I could come up with. That wasn't like too complicated, but I know it's still like a little bit complicated and kind of a little weird. It, you know, the implications aren't too clear. It's not like too visual. Which is kind of what something I've been searching for, like making the challenge like visible to like just an average viewer, like even if you don't know anything about Skyblock, right? I want people to kind of understand this is like a challenge. Yeah, I'm very much inspired by the YouTuber Settle, which I also did mention in my video, because he honestly makes some really good videos, and honestly I feel like he's a really underrated YouTuber with like the amount of effort he puts into his videos. he has like 600k subscribers, which is really not that many, but he does get a pretty decent amount of views though in his videos, which is nice to see. So I don't think he's struggling or anything, but I just feel like he's pretty underrated. He plays old school RuneScape though, which is, you know, probably where he's not like more popular than he is, simply because it's kind of a pretty niche game. Like it does, I think it has like 20,000 players or something on average, but generally, you know, you need a pretty big game if you want to like dedicate your entire time to it, or you kind of need to be really, really good at storytelling or like branch out and play a bunch of different games, whereas he only plays like a pretty niche game. But the good thing is he is really, really good at storytelling, and he does like really extreme challenges in RuneScape. Like they have a game mode called Ultimate Iron Man, for example, which is like already extremely difficult. But then what he does, instead of just doing Ultimate Iron Man, he like restricts himself even more. I remember I saw he even made like a pretty brief playthrough where he only had like one inventory slot, which was really interesting to see because he had to do some really interesting strats to kind of work around a lot of the challenges he encountered. And what also makes like RuneScape really good for those sorts of challenges is that it has some pretty clear goals. It's not really like Skyblock where it's like there are certain goals you can work towards, but it's not like there's a end goal, for example. It's not like, you know, there's an ultimate challenge. Like yeah, there's stuff like tier 5 Kudra, but it's still like tier 5 Kudra, you know, a Kudra run is only 5 minutes and you can easily get carried, so it's not like anyone can do tier 5 Kudra if they just pay for a carry, right? But it's not really like that with RuneScape because they actually have like I think it's the Infernal Cave, and then there's I I I don't know, the Infernal Gauntlet I think it's called, and then there's like the Fire Caves, which has kind of been goals he's set for himself in past challenges, which really make for like good final goals because they're very difficult in their own rights, and they're also solo, and the runs themselves take quite a long time, so you know it makes for a very interesting content in a way. Which is kind of something I'm struggling to find in Skyblock, because like, yeah, you could set your challenge for something like a tier 4 Inferno, like an Inferno Demon Lord, but, you know, obviously the game is still being updated a bunch. I don't know if, you know, something is gonna, you know, all of a sudden become extremely easy, or like, you know, how it is. And again, it's still like, it's pretty easy to kind of have a fluke run, like there's a bunch of cheese strats you can employ for tier 4 blazes and stuff, so just not as like clear cut and like as you know, I feel like intuitive and like as good of a goal as something you can find in like RuneScape, which has kind of been a big issue for me because it's a lot easier to like have a goal and then find a way to make that goal like hard but still feasible. And I feel like the Storage Lock series it kind of does a decent job at that because like in the beginning it's not really an issue, which is something I am aware about and kind of a little bit sad about. But other than that, right, like it still is a pretty clear challenge. It's not too complicated, and like achieving something like a tier 4 blaze kill would definitely be doable. I feel, I think at least. I don't actually know, but I'm pretty sure. While you know, still remaining hard, still remaining more hard than usual, but still like feasible in like a realistic amount of time. And it's not like I'm not, you know, willing to put in, you know, only like 100 hours or something. I'm definitely willing to put in more time than that, but you know, I don't know. Maybe I should do like 100 days challenge for Skyblock to see how far I can make it in like 100 days. I don't know, maybe 100 days of playtime or like 100 Skyblock days. I don't know. 100 Skyblock days, that would be like less than a day, so no, probably not that, but like 100 Minecraft days maybe. I could try to do that at some point. That could be kind of a niche challenge. Like just play Iron Man for like 100 days, see how far I can get. Could be kind of fun. Other than that, I'm still like brainstorming ideas. Like other ideas, you know, other than limiting storage is obviously like limiting islands or like limiting myself to one skill only, like doing a fishing only challenge or, you know, I don't know, something like that. Maybe a 0 coins playthrough. where I'm like not allowed to make any coins or anything. That could be kind of funny. Also, 50,000 wolf XP in the session, which is kind of nice. Definitely a decent dent, because it was 400k XP I needed in total, so that's definitely a decent dent. I'm happy about that. My rates also went up a little bit again, which is nice. Also, the old wolf here has been missing for a while. I think it's because, yeah, he spawns outside here. It's kind of annoying. Little pro tip, if you're ever doing Wolf Slayer in the ruins, kind of keep an eye out for that old wolf and make sure he's actually in his spot there when you're doing your cycles, because otherwise you're gonna be missing out on a pretty decent amount of combat XP every single time you do the cycle, which obviously leads to slower boss times, and everything is about fast bosses, right? I could also do like a more interesting challenge, like maybe instead of doing a tier 4 blaze, maybe I could do like, you know, a sub 60-second tier 4 E-man kill or something like that. That could also be like a decent goal for challenges, I think. But still, it's like, I don't know. I guess it could be probably an okay goal, actually. It's still just like, it's not as clean as something like, you know, the Inferno or, you know, a Fire Cave completion, right? Because it's like, it's a lot more clear-cut, those sorts of goals. And make for a very good storytelling. It's a lot harder to do with Skyblock. But I'll probably figure something out. It also very much depends on like how well the videos on the storage log profile does, because I definitely feel like it's interesting, like the concept is interesting, and I wouldn't mind playing it myself, right? That's why I started the whole series, but if it's not like something people are interested to watch, I might just end up, you know, doing something else, like, I don't know, doing a completely different challenge altogether, or maybe I just stick with my other kind of more challenge-based concepts where I kind of like do a feat and make a video out of that. Maybe I should make a Wolf Slayer level 9 video. I probably will actually do that. But like making it more of like smaller individual victories. I could, yeah, like I could just stick with that. I feel like it's been going pretty well. I very much liked the outcome of my my gold mining video. It did pretty well, and it was. I feel like it turned out as a pretty good video. Very much like the story with the whole I beat the second best gold miner in the world, which is, you know, pretty cool. Obviously, it was the best. You know, that would be a whole different story, but it's still like kind of a cool story. And you know, the whole secret strategy with me insta mining gold and stuff. You know, kind of it made for a pretty good story. I feel it was pretty interesting. I'm very happy with that video. I feel like I struck a pretty good balance. I did hear that my audio was a little bit off in that video, which is something I actually think I have fixed now, because I have an option to normalize my audio, my videos, which is definitely something I'm gonna, excuse me, be taken advantage of. Just because, obviously, it makes for a little bit more consistent of a viewer experience. Like, I know my mic has kind of always been a little bit on the quiet side, and I can't always just raise my voice, because then my voice dies even faster, and when I'm sitting down and streaming for a couple hours, obviously, having my voice die on me would not be too good. Especially since I'm kind of, you know, the guy who rambles. Kind of what I do. But yeah. I also like that whole, like, kind of 20-minute long videos. I feel like it's a pretty good balance to strike. A little bit over 10 minutes is always nice. If it's too short, like under 10 minutes, it's gonna be kind of bad. It can also be, like, having a longer video, like a 40-minute video, is also okay if you kind of dive into a bunch of different topics, or like kind of do a deep dive in like a bigger topic. But like if it's like a single challenge, which, you know, I've been doing recently, like with the gold mining and the EMET 9 and The other things I've done. I did one more video on something I forgot completely now. Yeah, but like if I just stick with that, then you know, 20 minutes is a pretty good time for a video. But if it's you know, I go longer than that, I definitely have to include more topics than just one. I also like splitting up, something I've been doing, which I don't actually know if it's super good for like the algorithm and stuff, but something I have been doing and feel like is definitely interesting is more like splitting up my content into something like into kind of a general section that's kind of for everyone, for even players who don't, you know, watch Skyblock content in general, who don't really know anything about Skyblock, and then like having another section that's kind of more in depth with like gear and like setup and like, you know, all those things. Hello, Joey. How are you doing? I feel like it's been working out pretty decently because then I can get to talk about some of the more nerdy stuff that I enjoy talking about, while also having, you know, a general audience, which is always nice. I am still trying to work my way towards 500 subscribers. Which I definitely feel like I can get there. It does require a lot of work though, because Skyblock is very much like a game that's pretty saturated when it comes to content. It's very hard to find your own little niche. Just like there's obviously the general Skyblock YouTubers like Swavy and 30 Virus and Refraction, which you know have generally decent, you know, like a generally decent and wide audience. But then there's also, you know, the more niche YouTubers such as like HS Fearless and you know, a bunch of the Ironman players like Toadstar and Sack Plays, and I know there's a bunch of them, um, which are all also very interesting, right? Because they have kind of their whole like more episodic style content instead of being kind of highlights, and then they're also very like they're good at the game is kind of their claim to fame. Then there's also, you know, someone like Deathstreaks, which is like takes that to the extreme. And like it's just generally kind of hard to find a niche because there's honestly not really that much to have a niche about. There's obviously like also like mining YouTubers or like farming YouTubers or, you know, kind of more niche YouTubers, but they kind of suffer from that issue that they kind of run out of content pretty quickly. That's definitely something I know Implodin did, and kind of a reason why he quit is that he kind of had done everything in the game, everything that was kind of relevant for his kind of style, you know, with him being super. He was a mining YouTuber if you don't know him. He was very, very much into mining and very, very good at mining. He kind of knew everything about mining, had obviously the best setups in the world, and like, you know, just kind of did a whole bunch of mining. Which there very much was lacking, kind of that sort of mining guy. He made some really, really good guides, which have helped me and have helped a lot of people getting into stuff like Ruby mining and like just general mining methods. He was very, very good at like, you know, showing off the methods and kind of, you know, making people aware of them and just kind of making pretty good, relatively short videos, but still like highly edited and high quality videos, which meant his content was obviously very enjoyable to watch. But he very much kind of, he quit not long ago, and it was very much because he kind of ran out of stuff to do. He kind of made a video on every single mining method in the game, and you know, there hadn't really been stuff. Hadn't really been like good updates and stuff for a while. No problem, DH. I hope you have a good one too. DHXI, which you want me to call you, right? Yeah. My rate per hour all of a sudden went up by like 10. I don't know how that happened. I don't feel like I've been doing anything different. I've just been going complete autopilot for the past 30 minutes or so. But my rates have been climbing, which is kind of interesting. They dropped a little bit, another like at all-time highs now. What the fuck? Hopefully we can actually drop something interesting though. We did drop a Glacier Blade not long ago, which was kind of interesting, kind of cool. But obviously we want a capacitor. We want that overflux capacitor. 350k HP to go to level 9 though, which is kind of nice. Um, I feel like it's going a lot faster than I expected it to go. I definitely feel like I thought I would have to spend a lot more time getting Wolf 9 than it seems like I'm gonna have to. It's like, it's going pretty fast at this point. Like, genuinely. I didn't expect to be able to, crank through 50k XP in like an hour and 15 minutes. That's pretty fast. Yeah, 60k HP now. That's generally a lot faster than I expected. It was kind of nice. Definitely is because I have quite a better setup than what I used to have when I did my first long Wolf Slayer grinds. Maybe I should. I've kind of been considering making more like guide style videos too, with kind of like going through a lot of different guides at once. I've had a project in the works that's kind of been like the ultimate guide to Skyblock, and I kind of figured out there's that's already kind of been done, which is a little tragic. So I kind of stopped worked on it for a while. I did make some more progress pretty recently, but kind of making like a big kind of all-encompassing guide with like what you can kind of do to play the game, because I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of like what's in the game and like kind of what people should focus on, depending on like what type of things they enjoy in general. Because I've kind of done a little bit of everything in the game. I think the only thing I haven't really done much of is like foraging, but there isn't really any depth to foraging right now, so it's not like, you know, there's really much to learn there. I feel like that could be kind of interesting, for some at least. Because I know a lot of people find Skyblock very confusing and they kind of struggle to kind of realize that there's a lot more to Skyblock than like just dungeons or just mining. They kind of don't really realize there's also, a whole bunch of other things they could spend their time doing. Which is something I feel like is a shame, and definitely why I kind of want to make people aware that, this is still a video game and you can actually do stuff you enjoy in it. You don't have to do this one thing that everyone else is doing. I do know there's like a lot of people who only play Skyblock for dungeons genuinely because the only thing they enjoy Skyblock for is dungeons, but there's definitely also some in that kind of stuck in that middle group where like, their friends introduce them to the game and then, they play dungeons together and then they kind of maybe they still play with their friends, but maybe, they kind of realize they're lacking behind and don't really know what to do because, like, the only thing they've ever done is dungeons and, like, they're struggling with Party Finder, they're having issues in a lot of ways, Just making them aware of, like, there's other things you can do. It's still, like, you can enjoy other things than just, dungeons. There's also, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking about like what's been done for Skyblock, like in general, what people have had success with doing. Because obviously, as many, my absolute favorite videos on Skyblock was definitely the ones from Technoblade. Rest in peace. Because they were genuinely phenomenal. They were genuinely some of the best videos, ever made on Minecraft. Like his whole potato war and like just his general like introduction to Skyblock and kind of showing off the game. It's definitely been huge, right? The whole Dante fight and like just everything. It's just he's come with so much for the game and just made it like into the game that it is today, right? Without Technoblade, I don't feel like Skyblock would be anywhere close to where it is today, which is, you know, something you can be very grateful for as someone who has spent quite a lot of time in this game. But yeah. But his content was also very unique in the way that, obviously there was stuff like some admin events which genuinely, like the Dante thing, that was kind of, focused on him. The whole potato war, ended up being kind of implemented into the game, which, also did did add something to his videos, but his content was also just kind of unique in his own way, right? He had like, he was really, really good at storytelling. It was just really funny in kind of an ironic way, but also, you know, very interesting way. Then also he was just, you know, phenomenal at the game. He had a really good understanding. He, you know, put in the work, he put in the hours, and he like put in the effort to kind of, you know, get ahead of people and just be better in a way. Which I feel like I definitely can't really contend with. I could definitely do it like small scale. I feel like my whole gold mining video is kind of a pretty decent shot at something like mimicking that whole the whole potato war. Not obviously nearly as good quality, but still like a kind of more niche, more like mini attempt, you could say. But yeah. Also, oh my god, furballs. How many have I dropped so far? This is... Yeah, I've dropped 8 furballs so far. Wow. Kind of funny. They do fill up your inventory very fast, which is a little annoying, but hey, it's what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should start a competition with someone. See who can mine the most netherrack in an hour or something. Do a collection war. I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of been done, though. I feel like Technoblade did it the best, and, you know, no one will really ever be able to live up to that sort of hype or that sort of work and dedication that those videos required. But yeah. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll come up with something. Yeah. Alright, so I think we're, what, is that 1,000 bosses? No, that's like 100 bosses, right? Yeah, I think I've done 101 bosses. I think that's what it comes out to the math. For today's stream, which is pretty good. I think I'll go for like another 10, but then I'll probably just end stream. It's been pretty quiet today, and I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon, so it's completely fine, but, you know, it's Monday, I get it. People have school, people are busy, but yeah. It is what it is. No matter what, I hope you still enjoyed my whole ramblings and stuff. No capacitor though, which is a little sad, but you know, it is what it is. Bonk. Alright. I think I'm actually just going to do one more boss and then I'm going to call it for today, because I am feeling a little tired and I've streamed for quite a while, and yeah. Wolf Slayer is getting a little bit repetitive at this point. It was still fun, like I still definitely enjoy Wolf Slayer, it's still definitely an enjoyable part of the game for me, but I definitely feel like at this point it's a little getting a little repetitive. Just running in the same circle and stabbing the same wolf over and over again. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do a last one now, so let me just call Mr. Maddox the Slayer and tell him I'm done. Auto Slayer off. Yeah. My standings aren't really any good for Slayers, which is kind of funny. I feel like I spent so much time doing Slayer and like I'm not even in top 1,000 in any of them. A little tragic, but you know, I do get it. It's definitely the most fun part of the game, so it's not surprising. So plus 30 combat wisdom. That's a lot of combat wisdom you just get from Slayers now, which is kind of nice. Also, yeah. Yeah. A little over 20% of the way to a guaranteed capacitor. Hopefully I don't have to go all the way to the guaranteed capacitor, though. That would be very tragic, but you know, that's not something that's in my control. Bonk, bonk. Come here. Come here. And here he is. The last Sven Packmaster for the day. Just sitting and chilling. Gonna go down without any problems. Giving me a last few hamster wheels. Very nice. I did end up getting quite a lot of hamster wheels. Like, what that? Like 3.5 mil worth of hamster wheels. Which is not bad. I'll definitely take that. I did also get a few wolf talismans. Hopefully I can sell them for a little bit. And some furballs. Which I will list at some point. But right now I won't because it's still Aatrox. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's gonna be it for today. My whole Sven RNG drops chest dropped 4 red claw, some grizzly baits. I also already have 3 wolf talismans in here, which is kind of funny. I have a bunch of foul flesh as well, which I didn't even know I had. I used to have a bunch of stuff in here I just weren't aware about. I'll put that in there too. Well, a whole bunch of beheaded horrors, tarantula talisman. I have a whole bunch of weird things in here, which is kind of funny. Yeah, even a reaper gem. I really hope they had like a proper use for the Reaper Gem, or like the Reaper Gem becomes like an actual useful item at some point, because right now it's just kind of pretty goddamn useless. There's another Wolf Talisman in here. I think I'll put this Wolf Talisman in here, maybe instead of the biofuel. I feel like it doesn't really belong. I have those defragment fragments really, but yeah, it's whatever. So I can't really use this biofuel for anything, so I'm just gonna throw it out. But yeah, anyway. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and if you're one of those VOD frogs, which you are out there, I know, a lot of you are actually watching the VODs, which is kind of exciting. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed me rambling, and if you ever, have the time, feel free to drop by. I am trying to stream every other day. It's not always I do that, but yeah, I'm trying to stream every other day around this time, around 16 to 17 CST, Central European Time. And yeah, anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in my next stream or vid or whenever. Bye.